How to fix a marriage that's gone stale.
One of the biggest things we hear from people all the time is, man, like, I don't really understand how our marriage got to this point.
Yeah.
Like, it was a long time, we've been together for X amount of years, and it just kind of like slowly got worse. And the number one thing that we always say is, well, how are you now? And who were you when you originally fell in love?
You've changed.
Is one of the first questions we have to ask them, right? And they're like, well, yeah, but we didn't have kids and work's got busy and things like that. It's like, yeah, but who were you as a person? Because who you were as a person in the beginning is the person they fell in love with. So if you change that,
it's going to change your marriage.
Yeah. So check this out. There's this business owner, right? And he opened up this business and he was crushing it. Came out the gate, like rave reviews, crushing it, line out the door. Just was the demand was through the roof and his menu was on fire, right? He was a restaurant owner and he was just crushing it. Everybody was the hottest spot. Everybody wanted to eat. But then he decided he wanted to change the menu.
Crazy, right?
Like, why, dude, you changed the menu? Why'd you do that? Like, your line's out the door. I know, but like, I don't know.
Change things up.
I got a little, I don't know, been doing this business for a while. Like, and guess what happened? His business tanked. And it struggled for years, barely keeping the lights on, had to get multiple loans and almost went bankrupt and all this stuff. And then he decided after years, guess what? To go back to the original menu. And what happened?
Business went back up.
Business started booming, right? It's the same thing for a marriage. Oftentimes people, you just change your menu. It's like maybe you were funny, adventurous, spontaneous, doing all this stuff, and then you get married and you let all these outside forces change who you are. Like, that shouldn't happen. Just because you have kids, that doesn't mean you can't be funny. That doesn't mean you can't be spontaneous. Bring the kid with you.
Sometimes.
Yeah, like sometimes, but like sometimes people are like, oh, well, we're just so busy we don't have a babysitter and things like that. You can always figure out a way. And worst case scenario, work around it. Like, that's what would made your spouse fall in love with you. Let's say this. Let's say you're a single parent, right? And you have a young child that's maybe 1.5, right? And you're trying to, you meet some new person. I don't know how you met him, dating app, whatever. And you're starting to like hang out with them, but you don't have a person that you can give the baby to. You know what you're gonna do? You're still gonna make dates for that person, and you know what's probably gonna do? They're gonna fall in love with you because you're gonna be like, hey, I incorporated the baby, and then when it was asleep, I still set up like this dining room table and made it like a restaurant, and like had all this cool stuff, like made us menus and like did all this stuff, and the baby's sleeping in the other room. You went to that extra mile.
But then you stopped doing that.
You would do that in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then after a while, you're like, dude, I already
got this person, so.
Already my wife, like, I'm going to stop doing that. Like, no. Be the person that they that they fell in love with, right? Like, that's what made you special. Don't lose what made you special. Now, sure, we should all be growing and changing.
For the better.
Yeah, like growing in the right direction. Just being that amazing person you were and just escalating that to something better, not being that person you were and going down, right? Like, so many people say, well, I love my husband's dad bod. No, you don't. I mean, it's not bad, right? Like, you love them for who they are, but you can't tell me you wouldn't really like them if they were physically fit, right? Like, that's just BS. Like, don't not tell me that.
Same goes both ways.
Right, or the same ways. I get that message from so many people all the time. It's like, I love my wife, but she like blew up. And like now she used to be like so energetic and we would have lots of sex and like we were having so much fun, and then she had a kid and then she put on this weight and then she just never lost it years later. And that doesn't mean you're a horrible person.
You can just lose yourself that way.
You'll lose yourself. And so people say, well, that's just what happens. No, it doesn't that's not what happens. It doesn't. That's not the way the body works. Sure, the body's metabolism will slow down, but it's a choice to not lose weight or get back to a healthy range. Doesn't mean you gotta be rocking a 6-pack and all of that. If you want, go get it. But you don't gotta be in an unhealthy area because the person fell in love with you for who you were in that area, and looks is a part of that. Like if all of a sudden she decided, you know what, I'm gonna get a bunch of face tattoos. Then you're gonna tell me, well, that's crazy. Because that's not the person I fell in love with. They wouldn't get face tattoos. Well, let me guess you what, if all of a sudden, like, she drastically changed other than face tattoos in a bunch of other ways, or I did, like if she fell in love with me, like, and all of a sudden, I don't know, I was like smoking cigarettes all of a sudden, like I just came home and I started smoking cigarettes.
No thanks. I think I'll pass.
But babe, like, you fell in love with me, who that is, and changed who I am. I'm still me. I just like to smoke cigarettes.
But it does change who you are.
No, like, I just smoke cigarettes now.
Yeah.
Like, No, that you wouldn't want to be with that person.
No, it would be attractive and you would stink.
Yeah, and so the moral of the story is you would love them in that space when they're doing that, but then you would challenge them lovingly to not smoke anymore. Or I would tell her, like, hey, you want a bunch of face tattoos? Like, babe, like, I don't think that's ideal, you know? How about we go with the arms, or maybe like a neck one wouldn't be as bad, but like if you just all of a sudden want to get like a whole face, like that might not be good. But that's the same thing in marriages. People do that. They all of a sudden get comfortable. Maybe they're not working the same job or as motivated to climb the ladder. Maybe their friends aren't really all that great anymore. Maybe they don't want to go out and do anything fun anymore. They're not adventurous. Well, you change your menu and you wonder why your marriage gets stale.
The excitement goes.
It's tough. And I know like I can be pretty bold with this. And people may not be like, dude, you're a jerk. And no, just because sometimes in life you got to be real and be a straight shooter and tell people the hard things. Because I had to do that to myself, and I had to have other people in my life tell that to me. And Diane's had to do that to me.
Yeah, exact same thing.
And just call me out on my stuff, right? And like, that's how we get to the next level. But that's why we're able to be 23 years later and have such an amazing relationship.
Even better than it was at the beginning.
Way better. But people think that's unrealistic. Just the other day, I like to watch other coaches and their stuff. And like, you know, a lot of them have really good content. And there's unique and everybody's different in different ways. But this person said, you know, there's no perfect couple out there. Everybody struggles in their own ways. And they were trying to make light of that. Well, no, that's a lie. There are perfect couples out there. I put our relationship up against most people's, but I also know a lot of other people who have amazing relationships. I'm not saying that we're perfect people, but we don't argue. We support each other. We have amazing sex. Like we have all this other stuff, and we just challenge each other and we just grow all the time. Our faith life's on point. We're good parents and all this other stuff. But it's like when we just want to give people a participation trophy and say, hey, well, you know, everybody struggles in their marriage. Like, no, that's because your choice if you do. Now, there might be things that pop up, but that's when you come in and you crush it right away.
Mm-hmm. If you're struggling, you don't stay there.
No.
You figure out what it is and fix it.
And so that's really the biggest thing that I'm trying to say is like, where were you? And then what did you get to? Go back to the beginning, the foundation, and then build from there up and change and grow. But get back to the things that fell in love. Ask your spouse, what was it that made you really fall in love with me?
Yeah.
And be truthful and honest. Well, honestly, I thought you were really physically attractive. You know, too, you were super funny. Like, we would always go do spontaneous things, and you're always down for whatever. And
that was exciting. And
right. There's a couple that we're working with right now. And one of the things we always do at the beginning of working with people is we find out where they're at, not only in relationship-wise, but personally in multiple different categories. And then we have people rank them with a score on like a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best score you could get. And so we do that, but in the, they've been married, I don't know how many years, but I think it's been like 7 or 8, right? In the marriage categories, we have like, we list them in like sex, physical attraction, personality attraction, similar vision, and like all these things. We want to find a score on like where they're at with their partner. And the partner said they're at a 3 out of a possible 10 with their partner on physical attraction. Now, I guarantee when they fell in love, I guarantee it was probably close to a 9, you know? And how did it get to a 3? It matters, right? Not only the physical attraction, but the personality attraction was also at a 3. And that's hard to hear for them, right? Now, we don't have them tell that to each other because we don't want to hurt their feelings, right? Or get their true feelings of where they're at. But here's the point. When your personality attraction is low, I guarantee if we had them put the score from where they were when they fell in love, that personality attraction would have been a 9 also. They just stopped doing things that made them great, of who they were. You got to go back to that original menu and build up. So analyze that. It's one of the first things we can do. Sure, there's a ton of other things that are playing it, and this scenario is not going to be the same for everybody, but it's a real big one.
Oh, yeah.
Clean out everything else and get back to the original and build, right? sure, we should be growing and maturing in multiple ways, but I mean, I think that she would agree. Like, I'm still like kind of like childlike a little bit, you know, as I was when.
Keep it fun, and you do all those things that you still did, just in a better, even better version.
Right. I'm more physically fit now at
Yeah.
42 than
Oh,
I
yeah.
was at 21.
Definitely.
I'm more spiritually on fire now at 42 than I was at 23. I'm more mentally strong now, like leaps and bounds, than I was at 24. Right? Like, so all those ages, right, you know, when we were there, like in our first years of a marriage, like I was good in a lot of those areas, but I had a lot of room to grow. And I'm not saying I've been perfect the whole time. Sure, life comes and goes down, but the graph chart, when you stand back, should always look like it's trending up, not down.
Mm-hmm.
And so stand back and sometimes just clean off the junk and simplify things. It's like if you come to a new team, you know, and you get a new offensive coordinator for a football team, and they have this giant playbook. Sometimes you can get overwhelmed if you're a new quarterback into the system. So what they do is they simplify the playbook. And they're like, okay, hey, here's like the top 20 plays that we have that I feel like are most bang for our buck. Learn these, and then we'll slowly start adding on new plays. And dialing enough is they're not gonna be like, dude, you gotta learn 100 plays by 2 weeks. You just won't be good at them all. And sometimes in life, we just get all these things coming our way. Simplify it, get back to the 20 plays that you were really good at, and build from there.
Yeah.
So that's just a topic we wanted to jump in and touch on. Much love. Go out and be your best selves. Give people something to respect, and God something to work with.
Yeah.
Much love.